And I welcome each and all of you to the Arts Café Mystic for our 31st year. We're always glad when we've got some friends up there in the balcony. So thank you all, and remind your teacher how much we love him for sending you here. I hope you're all getting extra credit. Because what about all the kids who aren't here? That's just not fair. So 31 years for us. We've had a number of big years. Last year was pretty special, finishing up with Major Jackson and Marie Howe, and always our student poet show in the spring. We couldn't do it without you, as you all know, and your donations, large and small, help fund us. Those of you, and I'm looking at about 16 of you right now that bought seasons passes. That's a big deal for us, and we really appreciate it. So we thank you for continuing to support our efforts. So here we go, 31 years. This is kind of a cool show for me, with two poets that I've known in different capacities for quite some time. Abbott Cutler became a dear friend maybe about 10, 15 years ago when I first went to the Great Mother Conference that was started by Robert Bly. And Abbott's a great friend of our friend Coleman Barks. So I got to hang out with a cabin up in a cabin in Nobleboro, Maine. Sarah, his wife, who's an amazing photographer. You can look her up, Sarah Holbrook. She didn't go that often. You know, it's one of those things, every 5 years is kind of better than every year, at least to my sensitivity. But I've known Abbott for a long time. And we spent a lot of time hanging out before I actually got to hear him read his poems. And they speak for themselves. He's got 3 publications. His last book just came out last year. I happened to be in Georgia visiting with Coleman when it came in the mail. And Coleman, as many of you were here and have supported him here through the years, is in and out of clarity. But to spend 3 hours with Coleman while he was reading Abbott's book, it was like his whole mind and sensitivity came back to him. I think that once you hear Abbott read his poems, you'll understand that. So the last book, which is called Roosting Place of the Crows, came out by Lilypool Press just about 6-8 months ago. He'll largely be reading from that. There are other publications, but he does have a copy of that book here tonight, if anybody's interested in it. Abbott taught creative writing in Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts for 30 years. So for all of you educators in the room, you know what it's like to try to be good at it for a really long amount of time. So welcome from Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts to Abbott Cutler. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Wow, what a treat to be introduced by Lisa Starr. We have known each other for a while. And thank you, all of you people, for having this go on and on. What a great place. I hadn't been here until I came to hear Coleman and Marie Howe read. It was wonderful, totally wonderful. I'm going to start with an older poem and then move into the new book. This poem is called Another Place, and the setting is on the island of Borneo, where I lived for 2 years, a long time ago. And, oh, that's enough. You'll get it, I think, hopefully. Another place. When you step down into the heat and strange smells of that island, it does not matter if you use the wrong words. Here, there is more than one language, gestures, signs, laughter. The taxi ride into the city goes past the quarters of civil servants. Along the roadside, you pass women dressed in black in the full heat, swinging short scythes against the continual growth. What you have done in your life up to now matters not at all. You say hotel, and your driver takes you to the hotel where the Europeans stay. You can stay there and eat the food that you know, and later in the hotel bar, gain back the advantage that comes from the easy way you have with your own language. Or you can take your bags along the waterfront, past the shops and past the rising and falling of language where you can only hear the rising and falling, the music of calling children, ordering coffee, arguing politics, of radio, of coming and going. Looking into the houses on stilts above the water, you see the women squatting by the fires, the men squatting and talking, smoking, and you wonder if you could live without furniture. Your bags in the heat weigh on your arms like a mortgage that goes on forever. Back on the street side, you see a sign that says Woo Hop, that says Tung Kong, that says hotel. So you step up from the sidewalk and sit at a table and order a beer and look for the word for room. From your table, you can see past houses on stilts to an island, to the South China Sea and the sun coming down to the sea. You have spoken 2 words since your arrival. You have spoken hotel and beer. You're not sure who you are. The beer is cold. The language falls around you. The shop is lit with the setting sun. Sweat drips from your armpits. Later, you will say room. You will say food. You will walk around the city. The noise and your own silence will begin to fill the space around you. And without any costume, you will begin a slow dance in the original tongue. Say dance, say night. That place really stays with me. It was a long time ago, but this is the first poem from the new book. Destiny. Say the word destiny aloud, and you feel the great hallway of the past. Rock and dark trees to either side, the sky overhead, and a sense that the gods are close by, willingly entangled in the nets of the everyday. But nevertheless interested in that thin thread leading out from your chest to something unseen, unseeable. Sometimes you can hear the train down in the river valley. The wind has to be just right, and it has to be quiet, like now, and the long horn sounds. And then again, and you're taken outside of self, outside of the house. The world is larger than you remember, the self a part of it and not. It's not that your life with its lost keys and its call me, we'll find a time, isn't still your life. But it's definitely lighter, not so important. You don't have to get it right all the time. The dust will settle. The birds know what to do. See those strands of light reaching down? Okay. This is a prose poem. It's for Lou Jenkins, great prose poet from Duluth, Minnesota, who died a few years ago. Beet Soup for Lou Jenkins. The book was in my canvas bag along with a container of beet soup. Somehow, in its still way behind the driver's seat, the lid on the container of soup came unhinged, and the soup sloshed into the bottom of the canvas bag, and your book of poems, standing on its head as it were, soaked up beet soup about half an inch into every page, so that now every poem has a bleeding of pink across the top and coming down the western edge about halfway to the horizon. Now, whenever I open your book, I say, red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. And then, because it is morning, I go below and using chart and compass, set the course for the day. We're in the islands, so it's really only sandbars that we have to worry about. At this time of year, the wind is constant, usually out of the southwest, about 12 to 16 knots. I sometimes think about those years in the north, the little stars the frost made on the window in the house right at the edge of the forest. Lou has Lou has a lot of poems, almost all the prose poems, and they're amazing. He should have read here, but he can't now. Oh well. Someone told me there's an election coming up here in this country. So I'm going to read this poem. After Dark. On election day, she almost never gets there before they close. There should be polling places that open at twilight and like dark shrines stay open all night. And she could bring a small dish of pomegranate seeds to savor while she ponders where to make her mark. It would throw all the projections off. No one knows how the soul would vote or how heavily to weigh her choice. They haven't figured an algorithm yet, and she has no address, which of course is unsettling to the scribes. She's liable to show up many places at once, vote multiple times, every one of her different. Does she even have a party? A country? Meanwhile, we stumble and stutter, slide off the road, wait in the breakdown lane, till she, with her dark eyes and black dress, catches up. We are always in such a hurry. We haven't seen her in a long time. This poem switches places, and this is a poem that's set in Brooklyn. It's called Athena Murphy. I taught a long time ago, in my 20s, in Crown Heights in Brooklyn, in a junior high school. Athena Murphy. I think I should be where there's more. Oh, I should say maybe, not really, but I will. I I wrote this poem, I revisited Brooklyn. I was down there for 3 or 4 days, and that's when I wrote the poem. Athena Murphy. I think I should be where there's more. My life too quiet, too interior, somewhere like Brooklyn. I would pause in my important morning to look out on streams of people from every corner speaking in mellifluous tongues on the street below my window and think a moment about the polyglot of culture I am part of. The Filipino restaurant where I ate curried goat next to an interracial couple from Crown Heights, where back in the 70s I taught at IS 210, where Athena Murphy propped herself on the corner of my teacher's desk and asked who the hell I thought I was. A question that all these years later I'm still trying to answer. I'm sure, Athena, you don't remember that particular 8th grade morning. And who knows if you've gotten your slice of the American dream I was born into having, and now have this, peace and quiet, what I worked for, a solid house at road's end, and still I hear your question echoing, excuse me, echoing down the sometimes still corridors of my night and trying to understand an America that throbs like a life-size video game I come in and out of, and the oak trees now with leaves brown and brittle, and winter again making its way over every part of this fractured land with no regard for every us and them. Let me see. It's so nice to be in this room reading poems. I can't wait to listen to poems and music. I'm not writing for months. I'm like a dog with a bone. I write a line. I glance over my shoulder. I dig a hole. I put the bone down. I pick up the bone. I write a line. Someday I'll come back to this. I put the bone down. I dig a hole. I pick up the bone. There is something lodged in my body somewhere far from my mind. Feelings like gnats whirring around my skull. Why is there no album of remembrance? Why is the oil leaking? Why am I buying yet another rubber spatula? What happened to the cloud of insects, the evening air? The day begins like any other. Your life heads out across the bridge, down the block, out to where the road curves along the ocean. Your name seems to have fallen on you from a low-hanging branch. Your face, your shadow. Does it really matter where you came from? That moment when you almost understood? It's like a small animal in the grass. It was here and then gone, off into the scrub, the wind-flattened gorse. The years begin to pile up. And the river? It doesn't do anything. How can you be annoyed with a river? There is the Japanese knotweed hanging over the river, and there is the reflection of the knotweed in the black stillness of the water. The leaves are drying up and turning color once again. What this poetry is hard to say. Does it move as surely as the water? Writing it down, any of this, the life, the country, refugees, hearts like stone, hearts like the dark falling down. The swallow, the bird, not the My father always said that if the Buddhists were right, he would want to come back as a swallow. He went out looking for birds. He was a birder. He went out, they wear those funny hats and go out in the woods. And maybe some of you are birders. And he'd go out, wherever we were, he'd get up really early in the morning and go out. And he loved to keep track of things, so he'd write down every bird he saw. He had a life list of like almost 2,000 birds when he died. My father always said that if the Buddhists were right, he would want to come back as a swallow. He loved the quick swoop and glide, the way a swallow would ride just over the still surface of the lake, dip its beak, drinking on the fly, loved it more than the high imperial red-tailed hawk, the way he loved the double play more than the home run. Yesterday, mowing the far field, a barn swallow swooped and dipped, picking off insects as they flew up, and it occurred to me that it might be my father paying a visit out there in the late afternoon light. Usually, swallows arrive in groups of 3 or 4, but this one was alone, as my father often was. But why not? I'm not sure I believe in visitation, but why not? Seems as likely as the stone thought that it just ends. That's it. No, see you later. So I asked him how he liked life as a swallow. He liked it. The entire soar and loop of it, the snatching of bugs out of the July air. And if he was lonely on a day like this, and besides, I was there, his son. He said he liked seeing me up there on the tractor. I seemed content. I was. What did he miss? He gave his feathers a shake. He didn't know what that meant. And then he was gone, and I turned back toward the house in the oncoming night. Well, I'll read the last poem in this book. And then, if we have time, I'll read one that is in the book, one recent one. Is that good? And then that's it. Boom, done. Eyes. In Arabic, a spring giving water and the eyes are the same word. In English, a spring giving water and the season are the same word. The Mayans understand the gods hear only the language of metaphor. A spring that gives forth sweet water is the same as an eye which imparts sweetness to the one it beholds. That spring we found each other after a winter spent in the same room was like water sweet and cold in the back of the throat. When I heard that the temple will fall down if the grief of the people is not in the stones, the temple of words I thought I lived in collapsed around me, and it was only dust that I lived in. When I held, when I held the dust close, when I mixed it with tears and wasn't a stone like they said I was, I felt the brushing of wings. And I opened my eyes and stood where I was, my mouth fallen open, and the ordinary things of the world were shining, not with anything holy, but with the nightly dew and the morning sun. And I'll just read one other. It's in 3 parts, but they're all short. Writing at night. 1. Last night after rain, the spiders began. They wrap their dreamy, practical webs everywhere, from house to hollyhock, from blade of grass up to the stone wall, or from trunk of the peach tree to smooth, leaning spade handle. They worked in mist and moonlight, while on the sofa we talked and read. Now it is morning, and the sun is drying out the haze of August. 2. She said she wanted to write poems like that Turkish poet, the one who spent 30 years in jail. Only she didn't want to go to jail. If only she could get that urgency in. This summer, she's teaching at a well-known New England writers' retreat. 3. Faulkner stands at the end of the enclosed garden in Paris, where his French publishers are giving him a cocktail party. Uncomfortable, talking, a glass of bourbon in his hand, he is waiting for the moment when he can say good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abbott. Incredible. Thank you, thank you. Okay, we're awfully quiet. Makes me edgy. That's good. I think it means you gave a really good poetry reading, Abbott. In fact, I know it in my heart. It's so good to hear them in your voice, you know. And so many just surprisingly simple and shocking lines in your poems. Thank you, Abbott. Okay, guys, you ready to shake it on up? All right, we're way too serious. Our musical guests tonight are the River Gods. The River Gods are largely fronted by their co-founders, Ben and Nancy Parent, who are here tonight. Oftentimes when they participate, there's other additions to the band, changes to the band, depending on where or how they're doing it. What year did you guys start? 1997. Yeah, 27 years. So, based in Southeastern Connecticut, travel all over New England and to other parts of the country when they have time. It's not in their bio, but they are currently empty nesters and they're raising hell. So 2 kids off in school now, so hopefully that will give you guys the freedom to travel to more places where you can do it with or without kids, but sing your songs. So the River Gods, how many of you have heard them before? About a third. They can't really, you know, the bio says it all. They're indie, they're rock, they're folk, they're known for their harmonies, their beautiful, interesting lyrics, and I'm making you sound so much more dull than you are. I'm so glad that you could be here with us tonight. I've been trying to get you for a couple years, and the timing just wasn't right. So Nancy and Ben Parent and the River Gods, please let's welcome them.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. It's so wonderful to get your text. When you text, it's a little ray of sunshine. And I'm glad we could work it out this time. We are Ben and Nancy Parent. I'm Ben. This is Nancy. Abbott, that was so lovely. Thank you so much. I agree, you can't hate a river. Hopefully you can't hate a river god either. But I did want to say about your election poem, I saw this message in a parking garage in South Carolina a couple months ago. And this was about probably paying your parking, but it said, "The day both begins and ends at midnight." So I thought that would be a good line in a poem at some point. So, as far as the election, right, voting?
So we're delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having us. We're going to lean into our more poetic songs tonight.
Good luck.
And Always good to have a cheat sheet. So this is a song that I wrote recently called Warrior and a Lamb. And nature's definitely a source of my inspirations. This is a song about my mother, who lived in Stonington for many years, actually. And she passed about 5 years ago now. Eagle flew down to pick up its prey. Lived off in stop motion, a symbol of freedom, stoic and pure. Continuance and will live. Never cease to give up the fight when hope be like the truth. Months turn to weeks, turn to days, into hours, sunrise and sunset. Turn to the white light, return to the sea and stars, return to the warm embrace, warrior and a lamb, warrior and a lamb. You were a maiden, I was the ram. Younger years of commotion, two sides of the same coin we both know. With grace and divine on our side, gave it all and let it all go. With empty fears away, you know the everlasting love unto your release. And we walk hand in hand, breathe a new day began. We walk together hand in hand, breathe a new day began. Return to the white light, return to the sea and stars, return to your embrace, warrior and a lamb. We return to the bright light, we return to your strength inspired, we return to your embrace, a warrior and a lamb, warrior and a lamb, warrior and a lamb, warrior and a lamb. All right, thank you so much. You gonna do this one next? All right, Ben's gonna play for you a song that he wrote not too long ago.
This song is called Hourglass, and I will send it out to Dame Maggie Smith.
I can't keep time from running out. I can't keep it slipping away. Wish I could turn the hourglass, keep you around for another day. And when the darkness falls, I can't see your face today. I offer up my failings, humbly ask you to lead the way. I can't keep time from running out. I can't keep it slipping away. Wish I could turn the hourglass, keep you around for another day. Way back in halcyon times, hours spent just floating away. Tall tumbles, aimless climbs. Hold on to these memories. I can't keep time from running out. I can't keep it slipping away. Wish I could turn the hourglass, keep you around for another day. Show me a light eternal. Show me a road unpaved. I'm on my knees, surrendered. I'm not too proud to beg. I can't keep time from running out. I can't keep it slipping away. Wish I could turn the hourglass, keep you around for another day. Keep you around for another day. Keep you around for another day.
Thank you so much. Is it too loud? It's okay? Yeah. So we mostly write our own songs that we sing ourselves. Occasionally, I try to write one for Nancy from what I think is a female perspective, I guess. So anyway, this is one of those. Sometimes she adopts them, sometimes she doesn't.
I think I played with the words a little bit.
We write mostly the folk, country, I guess rock, three-chord kind of genre. Three chords and the truth kind of thing, I like to say. This one's a little more in the country vein. I like it. This is the kind of stuff, the country I like, old country.
And I chose to take it down kind of a sad route. So it's more of a lament for sad women out there, I guess. Women who are stifled poets that need to express themselves. This is called Everyone Wants a Piece of Me, which Ben wrote.
Wake up each morning, just kids to be fed. Frustrated husband, still lying in bed. Pets need attending, I'm seeing red. Remind me what's in it for me. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of me. It's raining outside. Stuck in this house. Just me and my dreams. Like a chasing mouse. Got no time for writing, no headspace to think. Remind me what's in it for me. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of me. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of me. Tired of fighting so hard. Tired of being so tired. Today I'll move along. Won't get to retire. It's the end of the day. Still work carries on. Prepare for tomorrow. What else can be done? Come tuck me in. Put out the fire. Remind me what's in it for me. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of me. Oh, everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants a piece of me.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you,
That was
Kyle.
one of those that just could have been like an upbeat country song, or it could have been a really sad, weepy song, and I chose the latter. So.
All right, this next song we actually did a music video for a few months ago. It's a very kind of Fellini-esque kind of thing. It takes place in a small pub in New London. It has the Grim Reaper. It has Captain America. It has a Chartreuse, sunglass-wearing priest who plays accordion. Check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called Figures of Speech. And I wrote this. It was inspired by two of my favorite deceased songwriters. The first is John Prine, who sadly died of COVID-19 early on in the pandemic. And I was very frustrated by that because at the time I felt like we had an administration that wasn't taking it very seriously. That's just my opinion. And the second songwriter that inspired the song wrote these words: "Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky." I'm not saying we throw the baby out with the holy water, but I'm saying if nobody knows for sure, maybe we all know about the same. So why are we fighting so much over this stuff? Again, just my opinion. You can sing along in the chorus. It says, "Left and right are just figures of speech. Right and wrong get a little bit deeper. Power and money hang in the balance. Only kindness and mercy get us out of this mess." 1, 2. I ordered a fancy drink in a rundown bar, pondered the fate of the world. I was 2 sips in on some 2-bit gin when along came this right-leaning girl. Like a political prisoner, I was spoon-fed her state, country's salvation and glory. After a while, I said with a smile, "Let me tell you a different story. Left and right are 2 figures of speech. Right and wrong get a little bit deeper. Power and money hang in the balance. Only kindness and mercy get us out of this mess." That's what he said. It's there in his book. She practically screamed in my face. So go back and listen. I said, not disagreeing, only trying to get me some space. The words of that man have long been ignored. There's no denying that fact. But one thing's for certain, if your love's not universal, you're barreling down the wrong track. Left and right are 2 figures of speech. Right and wrong get a little bit deeper. Power and money hang in the balance. Only kindness and mercy get us out of this mess. A one-size guide does not fit all. Even if we all need fitting, we're much the same in a relative way. If we could keep our hairs from splitting, under our skin is where we begin to try and remember again. So look deep in their eyes, you might recognize the face of the human condition. Left and right are 2 figures of speech. Right and wrong get a little bit deeper. Power and money hang in the balance. Only kindness and mercy get us out of this mess. Thank you so much. What do you throw a drowning harmonica player? His harmonicas.
You sound great, Ben. That's a self-effacing joke. Here we are, so we have one more song for you, The Space in Between. We're going to play for you, and we thank you so much for your attention and your presence tonight, and to Lisa and everybody for inviting us, so thank you. And to the poets, thank you.
Sorry.
Last night I dreamt of a house you had built, made in golden and pearl. You welcomed me in among gentle women, torn rooms adorned with your smile. Your surname that hung like a marquee of lesson, artist's rendition, a family tradition. Relics of childhood, fixtures of sentiment, windows to the river's intent. The space in between lives on. When the mortar and beams are gone, the space in between lives on. When the brick and the seams are gone, woke the next day to find you in need, called out for light and for love. While they remove, reconstruct and stitch up, built a new home for your soul. To flesh and to blood, we wanna hang on, the real love life passes by. We dream and we song, ever searching to know that the space in between is here all alone. The space in between lives on. When the mortar and beams are gone, the space in between lives on. When the brick and the seams are gone, oh, the space in between lives on and on. When the mortar and beams are gone, oh, the space in between lives on. When the brick and the seams are gone.
Nancy Parent.
I feel like we're all in a play. Everybody just took their places. stations and places. Okay, I'll be really brief with the announcements and the thank yous. Many thanks to my board. Most of them are here tonight. Thea left early. Liz and Christy couldn't be here, but Owen, Wendy, Julia, Charlie, John. I think that's everybody, because Thea couldn't make it. I have the most amazing board of directors. They bake, they set up, they hang posters, and they do everything they can to keep the Arts Cafe going. We also want to thank our partners at the LaGrua Center. We are so happy in this location. Anybody who walks into the building loves it and is very happy being here. Not going to say much about the current show. I'm appreciating it, but we did have to reassign our snack table. But you gotta be open-minded about everything. Postcards, you've got the dates for our events and we will be publicizing them. Margaret Gibson just called a typo to my attention. On the back of the postcard it says she's gonna be reading here on May 31st. So put them on your refrigerators this way. Margaret will be here in November and we're so glad about that. And in October, next month, we'll be hosting Colin Channer, who was with us maybe 3.5 years ago. It was during COVID. And it was outside at the Museum of Art in an off-season time because we were working around the pandemic. But since then, just about 5 months ago, Colin Channer was named, I believe, the 7th Poet Laureate of Rhode Island. So Colin will be here next month. Valzhyna Mort, we're trying to figure out when we met, but we're guessing it's 2005 maybe, or 2006. Shortly after she came to the United States, I had just started a writing series on Block Island called the Block Island Poetry Project. There was a woman who had the access to all the rock stars in the poetry world. And I would always say, but who are you most excited about? And I think it was just the second year of the Block Island Poetry Project when Alison Granucci said, you have to meet this woman, Valzhyna Mort. You, maybe 21, 22 when you came to the States. Her first book came out shortly after her arrival to the States in 2008. It's called Factory of Tears, Copper Canyon Press, an amazing press. The second book was also published by Copper Canyon Press. It's called Collected Body. Her third book, which came out in 2020, is called Music for the Dead and Resurrected. It was named one of the best poetry books of 2020 by both NPR and the New York Times, and it was the winner of the International Griffin Prize. Valzhyna's won so many fellowships and awards in a national level, meaning America, but also on an international level. Here in the States, since her arrival, it's a Guggenheim, a fellowship from the Lannan Foundation, the Amy Clampett Foundation. She was honored with the Best Hoken Prize from Poetry Magazine, the Prairie Schooner Award, and so many others. International prizes include the Berta Prize for Eastern European authors and the Crystal of Valzhyna, I can't, how do you say it? Valzhyna Prize. You can straighten me everything out when you get up here. Her poems and essays, they've appeared really in the best of the American publishing world. The Best American Poetry, the New Yorker, the New York Times, the Poetry Review, Poetry International. It's really interesting to read what people have to say about her, people who are, I think, a little more eloquent in these areas for me. For me, knowing you personally, I have such a visceral response to the poems. But just reading 2 reviews, this is from pronounce her name, the Svetlana.
Svetlana Alexievich.
Okay, say it again.
Svetlana Alexievich.
Right, who won the Nobel, she was the Nobel laureate in literature. What she says about Valzhyna's voice: her memory is incurable, her imagination is anguished, because the small country she comes from is beauty and sorrow. The New Yorker had to say that Mort is not simply writing another history of the worst crimes of the past century. She is creating a mythology for how we internalize those crimes at the individual level, and perhaps more importantly, the ways in which we both silence, remember, and recreate them as a result. When I met Valzhyna, I didn't realize I was given this beautiful handmade book called Belarus, and I thought there were a lot of copies of them. What I didn't realize until tonight was that I'm the only one that might have a copy of it. Valzhyna was coming to the States, wrangling with these issues of language: who has it, who doesn't have it, what happens when a language gets taken away from a group of people, or a group of people with language get silenced. So that book is called Belarus, right, with the accordion on the front. So I've been thinking about you so much with everything that's been happening in the world that you came from, and you've been so on my mind. So I'm so grateful that we're finally able to see each other, but you made it all the way to Mystic. One very important thing to say: Valzhyna's new award-winning book, Bank Square Books, who is our great partner and supporter, there was an issue with the shipment. So Music for the Dead and Resurrected we don't have here tonight. We thought about having you buy them here and go to the bookstore and pick them up. The bookstore said it would be much easier if you just call them up, order the book, so they're ready and they're waiting for you when you get there. So most of the poems that Valzhyna will read tonight are from this third book, and I apologize that we don't have a copy of it here for you. We do have her first two books, so make sure you get one or both of them before you go. Again, thanks for being here. Valzhyna.
I was driven here from Ithaca, New York by fear that I would not recognize Lisa after almost 20 years. Because it would mean, a really bad thing for me. Because Lisa invited me to Block Island when nobody knew me, when I had no US books, no publications, no US prizes. And she just kept inviting me to the Block Island Poetry Project. So it's very interesting for me to think that that audience that you curated there on that little island was my gateway, audience into the US readership. But then, of course, immediately I recognized you from your back when I walked in. You haven't changed at all. But then my second fear was that you would tell me that those two little skinny, as skinny gets, children who were windswept by this cold Block Island wind, that they have grown up. And you told me that they're almost 30 now, both of them. So I'm going to read from Music for the Dead and Resurrected. It is a book that tries to create a kind of a metaphor that would bring together music, and specifically music practice, and ways in which political violence enters our private lives, and ways in which genealogical trauma becomes internalized and the way it manifests itself in us. And also nature and specifically consequences of the Chernobyl disaster in Belarus, because Chernobyl affected Belarus most, and it completely changed my relationship with water, trees, apples, and so on and so forth. And it takes place between Belarus and Italy. I'll see whether I'll get to any Italian poems or not. Thank you so much. This is such a special place. It's so beautiful, inside and outside, or outside and inside. And now that I know that Colin, who is a good friend of mine, read here 3 years ago, it means that I can come back in 3 years. I'm making a mental note. Poet's biography. I picked your book from Sandeep's shelf. The poet's biography read, Lives and Teaches. Though the book was fairly recent, it was no longer true. I almost met you once. An almost meeting I remember clearly because of my embarrassment. I was having loud sex in a hotel room while you stood knocking at the door, wanting to give me your book. Now the trains stand frozen in a winter storm, and I pity the trains as if they were shivering butterflies, a whole herd of them, the last of their kind, stuck in the snow England has never seen. Sandeep is cooking dinner. You're dead. The lover's gone. Your book in my frostbitten hands. The trees I've glimpsed from the window of a night train were the saddest trees. They seemed about to speak, then vanished like soldiers. The hostesses handed out starched linens for sleep. Passengers bent over small icons of sandwiches. In a tall glass, a spoon mixed sugar into coffee, banging its silver face against the facets. The window reflected back a figure struggling with white sheets. The posts with names of towns promised a possibility of words for what flew by. In lit-up windows, people seemed to move as if performing surgery on tables. Chestnut parks sighed the sighs of creatures capable of speech. Radiation, an etymology of soil directed into the future, prepared a thesis on the new origins of old roots, on secret, disfiguring missions of misspellings, on the shocking betrayal of apples, on the uncompromised loyalty of cesium. My childish voice, my hands, my feet, all my things that live on the edges of me. Shh, no. The chestnut parks, I bowed to speak, but now they vanished. I was extracted from my apartment block, chained to the earth with iron playgrounds where iron swings rose like oil wells. I was extracted before I could dig a language out of air with my childish feet. I was extracted by beaks, storks, cranes. See the conductor punching out eyes of sleeping passengers. What is it about my face that turns it into a document, into a ticket stretched out by a neck? Why does unfolding this starched bedding feel like skinning someone invisible? Why can't the spoons, head down in glasses, stop screaming? Shh, the chestnuts are about to speak. The next poem takes place on the New Year's night, so magic time when time shifts, in a little village of Vishnyoka, New Year in Vishnyoka. Of course, when you bring a Belarusian poet to your reading, she brings a winter early. There's going to be a lot of snow. It's a lullaby. Snow glints and softens a pig's slaughter. Mama refuses another drink. Mama agrees to another drink. On the wall, a carpet with peonies, their purple mouths suck me into sleep. Small, I've been bedded, toasts through the wall, my lullabies. Mama says, no, 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 to more drink. My bed smells of Valzhyna. Without taking its eyes off me, a cat licks its grey paw as if sharpening a knife. Mama yells yes to another drink. Mama's breasts are too big to fit into packed morning buses. There is uncertainty I will grow into a real person. But on a certain day, in Vishnovka, a pig is slaughtered. Mama whispers yes, 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 yes to more drink. I am vanishing into the peonies' throats. Peonies smell of Valzhyna, of pig's blood on the snow. Clock's hands leave a strange ski track. So I'm taking you by trains and back road villages to my home city, the city of Minsk. And this next poem takes place in it and takes you around it. It's my Ars Poetica, and it's called Bus Stops, because I grew up on public buses, and I think that that's the rhythm in which my heart beats. The rhythm of public buses and the stops. Minsk was a city that was completely demolished during World War II, first by the Luftwaffe bombings and then by the Soviet bombings. And then it was rebuilt. It's an ancient city that was then rebuilt after World War II in the spirit of the Soviet victory. And when you go around its wide avenues and beautiful parks, all the toponyms, or most of them, the streets, the avenues are named after various national murderers, people who murdered mercilessly. I'm sure actually that's true for United States also. There are quite a lot of murderers that are standing as monuments and remain as streets. So I'm gonna take you on this public bus. Not books, but a street. Open my mouth like a doctor's spatula. One by one, streets introduce themselves with the names of national murderers. In the state archives, covers hardened like scabs over the ledges. Inside a tiny apartment, I built myself into a separate room. Inside a tiny apartment, I built myself into a separate room, peopled it with the Calibans of plans for the future. Future that runs on the schedule of public buses, from the zoo to the circus. What future? What is your alibi for these ledges, these streets, this apartment future? In the purse that held through 7 wars the birth certificates of the dead, my grandmother hid from me chocolates. The purse opened like a screaming mouth. The purse opened like a screaming mouth. Its 2 shiny buckles watched me through doors, through walls, through jazz. Who taught you to be a frightening face purse? I kiss your buckles, I swear myself your subject. August, apples, I have no body. August, for me, a ripe apple is a brother. For me, a 4-legged table is a pet. In the temple of supermarket, I stand like a candle in the line to the priestesses who preserve the knowledge of sausage prices, the virginity of milk cartons, my future small change. future that runs on the schedule of public buses. Streets introduce themselves with the names of national murderers. I built myself into a separate room where memory, the illegal migrant in time, cleans up after imagination. In a room where memory strips the beds, linens that hardened like scabs on the mattresses, I kiss little apples, my brothers. I kiss the buckles that watch us through walls, through years, through jazz, chocolates from a purse that held, through 7 wars, the birth certificates of the dead. Hold me, brother apple. This next poem takes you from riding around Minsk on the bus to the outskirts of Minsk. There is a forest there called Kuropatty, the Kuropatty forest, and that forest is notorious because it is a site of mass executions that happened in the 1930s. All of Belarusian intelligentsia was wiped out in several nights. Hundreds of writers, teachers, librarians, journalists, doctors. Thousands of people are buried there, even though buried is actually not a word, because these are people who were never properly buried. And we do not know how many people there are and why they were executed, because since then that site has been a closed site, and of course our present government also does not allow any kind of investigation into who is there and why. When I was little, people who would go walking there would find little personal objects like hairbrushes and glass frames, sometimes with inscriptions on them. So it's a site of great contention. And maybe when you read on the news in 2020, when there was great violence in Minsk and people were murdered by police and tortured in jail, people formed a human chain between the central prison in Minsk all the way to this forest, connecting this violence. And so this poem is called To Antigone, a dispatch, because Antigone is somebody who likes to bury the dead despite the king's orders not to do so. To Antigone, a dispatch. Epigraph. Allegro for shooing off the police. Adagio for washing the body. Scherzo for soft laughter and tears. Rondo for covering the body with good birth. Antigone, dead siblings are set. As for the living, pick me for a sister. I too love a proper funeral. Drag digging sisters pop up burial. Landlady, I make the rounds of graves, keeping up my family's top-notch properties. On a torture instrument called an accordion, I stretch my fingers into the finger bones of a witch. My guts have been emptied like bellows for the best sound. Once we settle your brother, I'll show you forests of the unburied dead. We'll clean the way only 2 sisters can clean a house. No bones scattered like dirty socks, no ashes at the bottom of bone china. Why bicker with husbands about dishes when we've got mountains of skulls to shine? Labor and retribution will share, not girly secrets. Brought up by dolls and monuments, I have the bearing of a horse and a bitch. I'm cement in tears. You can spot my graves from afar, marble like newborn skin. Here, history comes to an end, like a movie, with rolling credits of headstones, with uncredited rolls of mass graves. Every ditch, every hill is suspect. Pick me for a sister, Antigone. In this suspicious land, I have a bright shovel of a face. I'll read the last poem now. It's pretty long, but it will end. And I'm also shortening it for you. And you'll know that it's ending because I'm going to read the last part in 2 languages. It's a very short last part. So I write in both Belarusian and English. And you'll be able to pick up, I think, on how I work with rhythm and repetition. Where am I from? Oh, here Rome comes in, Italy. Usually the American reader thinks that all of this church imagery is Belarusian, but of course our churches were all destroyed by the Soviet government. But my Belarusian readers know that this is all Italy. Where am I from? In black basilicas, dragged incessantly down a cross, is a man who here resembles a dress snatched from a hanger. There, thick clouds of muscles, an overcast body, embodied weather of one hardly known country, a country where I'm from. Dragging him, they stick their hands under his armpits. How cozy their hands are in such a warm place. Through a cut in his chest, Eve watches with her one bloody eye. A cut in the chest, a red eyelash. But where am I from? To a telephone in a long hallway, as if to a well for water. Well, where am I from? Neither mamas nor papas. My round face takes after a rotary phone. A rotary phone is my gene pool. My body rings as it runs to put my head on the strong shoulder of the receiver. Blood is talking, blood's connection is weak. Inside the receiver I hear crackling as if fire is calling. Who is this? It's me, fire receiver. But where am I from? Days of merciless snow in the kitchen window. Snow was deposited like fat under our skin. How large we grew on those days. So much time spent at the kitchen table, trying to decide where to put commas in sentences about made-up lives. Yet no one bothered to tell us that words once uttered crowd in the brain as in a hospital lobby, that time is supposed to heal only because once it was seen with a scalpel in its hands. You've made a mistake, you'd say mysteriously, pointing at lines written by a child. Think of another word with the same root, as if words can have roots, as if words didn't come from darkness, cat in the bag words, as if our human roots were already known to us. His grammar, his orthography, his paper rag, bread, milk, butter, what roots, what morphology, what rules of subjugation? How is it even possible to make a mistake? His physics, chemistry, geography with its atlas now. Where are Václav's letters? 1946. What to do about the etymology of us? Our etymology. 1946 crowds my hospital lobby. The face of a rotary phone, the face of a clock, the face of a radio on the wall, these are my round-faced progenitors. But Václav's face, where? Evacuated face, de-evacuated face, deactivated face, vacated face, a face snatched from a hanger. Absence as an inner organ. In a village known for a large puddle, where all children fall between the 2 categories of those who hurt living things and those who hurt non-living things. In a village known for being unknown, a graveyard around an old church, the frightening alphabet around the village, an alphabet on gravestones, marble letters under the moth-eaten snow. Under the moth-eaten snow, my motherland has good bones. My motherland rattles its bone keys. A bone is a key to my motherland. My motherland rattles its bone keys. Eve watches with her one red eyelash. Under the moth-eaten snow, my motherland has good bones. In my motherland, people kneel before wells. In my motherland, people pray to the crosses of flying birds. A bone is a key to my people. Among my people, only the dead have human faces. Still, where am I from? The golden bones of my motherland are ringing. Put your bones into braids of graves, woods. Put your bones into braids of graves, ravines. Put your bones into braids of graves, fields. Put your bones into braids of graves, swamps. Put your graves into braids of bones, mother. Put your graves into braids of bones, moth. Put your graves into braids of bones, ghost. Put your graves into braids of bones, guest. Braid your bones neatly. Braid your bones bravely. Finger comb your bones into neat braids in our woods, ravines, fields, swamps. Прибери свои кости у косы могил, лес. Прибери свои кости у косы могил, яр. Прибери свои кости у косы могил, обшар. Прибери свои кости у косы могил, бор. Прибери могилы у косы костей, имшара. Прибери могилы у косы костей, хваля. Прибери могилы у косы костей, далеч. Прибери могилы у косы костей, здань. Пальцами зрубами запляти кости у косы, не грубыми запляти кости у косы, не гребуй, запляти кости у косы. Пальцами гребенями запляти кости у опошние косы, у лесе яры, обшары, имшары. Thank you.
Abbott, could you stand up, please? Valzhyna, could you please stand up? Ben and Nancy, stand up one more time. What an amazing evening. Okay, not much I can say about that other than go buy a book and go buy a CD. And what a gift. Really, for me, we've been away from our poetry series for 3 months. We all take the summer off. The ocean feels very civilized to me. Sunshine feels very civilized to me. So do flowers. But there's something about hearing the words that I most need to hear, in particular when I can't find them for myself anymore. So thank you all for sharing your gifts with us, the 4 of you, and thank you all here in the audience for your support of the Arts Café Mystic and for the amazing quality of your listening. Thank you so much, and give our best to, it's Mr. Nelson, right? Yeah, tell him we love him. Thanks for coming, guys. And feel free, anybody, if you've got any questions for the poets, come on down and ask. I bet you'll get a little more extra credit for that.